Warning: the following video contains disturbing material that may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Parental discretion is advised. The case of Henry Lee Lucas is one of the oddest in the cases of serial killers. He was either one of the most prolific serial killers to ever walk the earth, or was responsible for just 3 murders. According to the stories he told the police during the mid-1980s, he committed between 70 to 600 murders all over the United States. However, the only murders he can conclusively be linked to are the killings of his mother, which he served time in the 1960s, and the murder of his 15-year-old girlfriend and an 80-year-old woman who helped the pair. These were the crimes that led to his final arrest. Henry Lee Lucas's background was tailor-made to produce a serial killer. He was born in 1936 in the town of Blacksburg, Virginia, in the desperately poor Appalachian Mountains. He was the youngest of Viola and Anderson Lucas's 9 children. Both parents were alcoholics. Viola dominated the home and provided most of the family's income by prostitution. Anderson was also known as No Legs, having lost his lower limbs in a drunken accident. Viola Lucas seemed to have loathed her youngest child from birth. She sent him to school shoeless and initially wearing a dress. When the school gave him some shoes, she beat him for accepting them. Later in his childhood, he cut his eye with a knife while playing around. Viola let the wound fester until the eye had to be removed and replaced with a glass one. She would also force her children to watch her have intercourse with her clients and her lover, Uncle Barney. Lucas's father finally passed away of pneumonia after spending the night outside of the house laying in the snow. His main contribution to his son's upbringing was he introduced him to moonshine whiskey. By the time he was 10, Henry was virtually an alcoholic. Not long after that, Uncle Barney and Harry's older brother introduced him to bestiality, which involved sexually assaulting animals and killing them. This was an activity Henry later claimed to have taken with relish. By his own unreliable account, his first sexual experience with a woman resulted in his first murder. Age 14, he sexually assaulted and strangled an unknown girl. Almost inevitably, Lucas drifted into crime, and in June 1954, he was sentenced to 6 years for burglary. He managed to escape custody twice, but was recaptured both times, and finally released on September 2nd, 1959. On release, he went to live with his sister in Michigan. Soon afterwards, his mother arrived and tried to persuade Henry to return with her back to Blacksburg. This led to a drunken argument that culminated in Henry stabbing Viola Lucas, resulting in her death 2 days later. Henry was convicted of second-degree murder and served 10 years in prison. He was released in June 1970. But was soon arrested for attempting to kidnap 2 teenage girls. Released again in 1975, he was briefly married to Betty Crawford, who divorced him, claiming he would make sexual advances to her daughter. At around this time, according to his late confessions, he began his epic orgy of killing, traveling the highways of the United States in search for women to sexually assault and murder. In late 1976, he met Otis Tooley in a soup kitchen in Jacksonville, Florida. Tooley, like Lucas, was a sexual deviant and murderer who was also prone to exaggeration. The pair became friends, and in 1978, Lucas was living in Tooley's house in Jacksonville, along with Tooley's young niece and nephew. Lucas fell in love with Tooley's niece, a slightly mentally challenged girl called Becky Powell, despite the fact that she was just 10 years old when they met. From 1979 to 1981, Lucas and Tooley worked together for a roofing company. If their stories are to be believed, they frequently took time off to sexually assault and slaughter. In 1981, Becky and her brother were taken into care. Lucas and Tooley snatched them back and headed on the road. On May 1982, Lucas and Becky, now 15 and claiming to be married to Lucas, went to Texas to work for an old lady named Kate Rich. Rich's neighbors kicked the couple out of the house when they discovered that they were cashing checks in the old lady's name. Lucas and Powell spent some time in a religious commune nearby before Becky decided that she wanted to go back home. Lucas appeared to agree, and the two left the commune. The next day, he returned alone. 3 weeks later, the old lady, Kate Rich, disappeared. Lucas left town the following day. He was eventually arrested on June 11th when he returned to the commune and was found in possession of an illegal handgun. After 4 days in jail, Lucas began to confess, first to the murders of Becky Powell and Kate Rich, and then to a string of other crimes. He was convicted of the murder of Powell and Rich and sentenced to 75 years in prison. However, this did not halt his stream of confessions. For 18 months, he kept on confessing, his body count spiraling into the hundreds. He implicated Thule in his many murders. By this time, detectives all over the country wanted to see if Lucas would cooperate and help them solve any of their murders. More often than not, Lucas was happy to oblige, particularly if they took him out of prison to the tours of his murder sites, put him up in hotels, and bought him steaks and milkshakes. By March 1985, police across the states had cleared 198 murders as having been committed by Lucas, either alone or in tandem with Thule. Alarm bells started to go off in the mindsets of the prosecutors when Lucas, who had never left the country, started to claim that he committed murders in Spain and Japan, not to mention having supplied the poison used in the Jamestown massacre. A series of newspaper articles appeared claiming that Lucas was a fraud who was using and being used by police departments looking to clear their backlogs of unsolved murders. At this point, Lucas himself began to recant his confession. Now he claimed that apart from his mother, he had only killed Powell and Rich. Nevertheless, while the claim of 600 plus victims seems obviously exaggerated, there are many who still believe that Lucas and Thule may have killed as many as 100 people. Lucas was tried again for just one murder, that of an unknown female known as Orange Socks. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. However, subsequent investigation provided that this was one murder Lucas could not have committed, as he was working in Florida at that time. Lucas died of heart failure on March 13th, 2001. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment who you think the next serial killer is going to be. And also remember to comment down below anything having to do with the video for a chance to be on a daily shout out. You can also follow me or reach out to me on Twitter, and I have a Twitch channel that I play some games on. Both will be linked in the description down below. Until next time, guys, sweet dreams.